Hi, I'm Maggie. Thank you for stopping by Crafts the Charm today. I'm so glad you're here. And today I want to make a wreath that is inspired by Moroccan marketplaces like this one here. I just love all of the handcrafted goods and the materials that they're made out of, the combination of colors and shapes. So I'm going to see if I can capture that a little bit in a wreath. I'm going to make this a pool noodle wreath. So here I have some white duct tape and I have a white pool noodle, although an orange one would have been better if I'd had an orange one. And I'm going to rip off a piece of the duct tape and lay it on one end of the pool noodle, and then bring the other end around, stick it into the duct tape, and wrap the duct tape tightly around. This pool noodle from the Dollar Tree is 4 feet long, and it makes a wreath that is about 17 inches in diameter once you have made it into a circle. Now, sometimes pool noodles don't really like to stay in the shape that you put them in, so I have in the past heated them up a little bit with a heat gun to get them to stay in shape. And when I do this, I do wear a respirator, and I do it outside where it is well ventilated. Okay, so once I have my pool noodle wreath, I have this beautiful piece of orange fabric from the Dollar Tree. And if you watched my llama side table video, you might remember that I used this fabric to decorate one of the llamas. So I have a little bit left. What I have left is about a 14 by 14 inch square. So a lot of what I'm about to do is because this is the only piece of this orange fabric that I have. If I had a larger piece, this would be easier. What I want to do is wrap this around the wreath. So I decided that the way that this would look best is if I cut it into 9 pieces and then wrapped each of the 9 pieces around going in the same direction, because you can see this has a striped pattern on it. So I divided it into roughly 3 pieces, cut 3 strips, and then for each of those strips I folded them sort of like a business letter, just folded over one side to the middle and then folded the other side rather than try to measure it, and then just cut where those folds were. So I have 6 pieces that are roughly the same size and really not big enough to stretch all the way around the pool noodle. So again, if I had more pieces of this fabric, I would have just cut larger pieces. So what I ended up doing is I happened to have this orange burlap wired ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I got this in the autumn. And what I'm going to do is glue that around the back of the wreath. So I'm using white glue, and I'm laying down white glue on the wreath and then putting the burlap ribbon over it and then folding it a little bit so that I can turn around. So every maybe 3 inches, I do a little fold so that I can continue with the shape of the wreath. And I'm using straight pins to hold that down onto the wreath while the white glue dries. You'll notice that I'm not going all the way around the wreath, and that's because I'm going to have a little bit of a rug hanging over the bottom of the wreath, so I don't need to go all the way around. Now, once the white glue had dried, I removed the pins, and again, it didn't hold super well, so I'm going to try a little bit of hot glue. You do have to be careful with hot glue and pool noodles because pool noodles will melt. But I used the hot glue to hold that ribbon down where it wasn't held down very well, and then I used it to attach the 9 strips of the orange fabric to the front side of the wreath. So I would take a strip and lay it on the pool noodle so the stripes were going across the pool noodle, and just glue down the end, so just a tiny bit of glue on each side, and pull that around so it overlaps the burlap ribbon a little bit. And then I have to sort of curve it some, so curve it and then glue down the top part. Again, if I can match up to that ribbon, I do, and then glue the part in between, pulling it tight so that it looks relatively smooth. And then the next piece, I overlap that piece a little bit and do the same process. Glue down the end that's overlapping each side so that it reaches the ribbon, and then turn it a bit, glue the other end, and then glue in between. And I went all the way around, not all the way around the pool noodle, but all the way around where the orange ribbon is with my pieces, and they just fit. What I tried to do was pick an edge to be messy. If I was going to have a messy edge, did I want it to be the outside edge or the inside edge? And I picked the outside edge. And this is because I have enough ribbon left over that I can overlap that outside edge all the way around with the leftover ribbon. So that's what I did. I glued basically in the middle of the pool noodle all the way around and just laid that ribbon down. And then in the back, starting in the middle, I just pinned it down. You could certainly glue it. I just felt like pinning it was easier and less wasteful. So I pinned it, and then every couple of inches or so, put in a little folder or sort of a dart and pinned it again. And that way it looks nice with the curve of the wreath. Now I have this little rug from the Dollar Tree. You have probably seen these rugs before. And I'm going to put that over the bottom of the wreath. That's why we didn't need the orange fabric to go all the way around. And I cut this, it's a little bit longer than half of the rug. And what I did was I laid it down upside down, and then I put the wreath over it and folded up just the bottom of the rug over the bottom of the wreath and pinned it in place, and then just pulled the top of the rug down over that so that the fringe is hanging down in front. Now Dollar Tree has this wonderful metal ribbon, and I don't often see it. It's in the floral section. So when I saw it recently, I picked up 4 different styles. These are the 4 different styles. And I really liked the one with the sort of ovals and decided to use that one on the wreath. Now this one's nice because it has little tiny holes along the edges, and I can use those to pin this to the wreath. So I cut 8-inch lengths of this, and I'm going to wrap them around the wreath. I decided to cut 5 of them. I wanted an odd number, so I put 1 in the center. And then I just positioned 2 on either side of that so that they were spread out evenly over what you can see of the wreath. And I just pinned them in place with a lot of pins on the back. Now I'm going to show you 2 ways to finish this wreath. I don't know if this first one is maybe cheating a little bit, because Dollar Tree no longer has these wonderful Moroccan lanterns, and I feel like it was maybe 3 years ago that I bought these, and I actually bought a few more of them on eBay, but again, it was about 2 or 3 years ago that I bought those, and I haven't seen them since. I wish Dollar Tree would get them back because I just love them. And what I'm going to do is just hang a couple of these from the top of the wreath. So I also have from Dollar Tree gold pony beads, and I have these, they're called wood oval beads, and I'm going to string those on some gold florist wire that I got from the Dollar Tree, and then just wrap that around the top of the wreath so I can put it through the lantern because it has a little hole in the top for hanging, and then hang it from the top of the wreath. So I'm just stringing an alternating pattern of the wood beads and the gold pony beads onto the wire. But the gold beads, they're a little bit too bright and plasticky looking, so I'm just going to dry brush or dab some of this folk art multi-surface paint in chocolate brown. And dabbing that over these gold beads just gives them a wonderful finish. They just look more like real metal once you've done that. And then again, I've just attached those to the top of the wreath with the wire in the back and then cut it and sort of folded it under. And that's one finish for this wreath. Now I really like that, but these little lanterns don't belong to me. I had bought them for somebody else. So I'm going to return those lanterns, and I'm going to finish the wreath a different way for myself. And you might like this way too, especially if you don't have those little lanterns, since the Dollar Tree doesn't carry them anymore. Although you could certainly substitute a different Moroccan lantern, it would just probably be more expensive. Or maybe you have some other items. I think that this is a wreath that you could layer, just like a Moroccan marketplace. Layer the items on here. This is the level of layering that I was happy with, so I'll show you the way I finished it. Once I removed the lanterns, I thought I would just make a garland out of the pony beads and the wood oval beads, but I changed the pattern a tiny bit, so I did one pony bead, then a wood bead, then two pony beads, then a wood bead. Now I got a little bit smarter about painting the pony beads this time. I strung them onto a bamboo skewer and I stuck it in a piece of styrofoam, and if I pressed down on that top bead, they didn't spin around, so I was able to easily paint them. Then I strung them, and then to attach them to the wreath, it was actually very easy. I just put a pin in the back of the wreath, wrapped the end of the wire of the beads around the pin, and then just wrapped the garland around the wreath and inserted another pin at the end, and this one I did under the rug, and then just wrapped the end wire around that pin. I did with the final pony bead, wrap the wire through the pony bead, sort of almost like a knot, just to keep the beads tight while I was wrapping it around the wreath and securing it to the wreath. So here is the first version with the lanterns. And here's the version that's hanging in my house now with the garland. I think a combination of both would be nice. If I had the lanterns, that's what I would do. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoy this sort of content, please subscribe to Crafts the Charm. Thank you for spending time with me today. Take care.